Welcome to St. Louis in Tune with Arnold Stricker and Mark Langston, where we size up current and historic events involving people, places, and things in areas such as the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, health, history, housing, humor, justice, and sports. Our weekly podcast originates from and connects the gateway city to our country's current cultural fabric and lives. We're talking to author, journalist, publisher, and filmmaker Seth Ferranti about his new film, Nightlife. Seth, welcome to St. Louis in Tune.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, give us a little background, because you have a unique perspective to do a film like this, and of the 20-something books that you've written that deal with topics that most people would not deal with. What's your background?
Yeah, well, I basically grew up in the suburbs, but then, late 80s, early 90s, I started getting the drugs, mostly cannabis, psychedelic scene. I started selling. By the time I was 19, I was supplying 15 colleges in 5 states on the East Coast with LSD and cannabis. That was right at the height of the war on drugs. So, when the hammer came down pretty hard. I got a 25-year sentence, but at first I took off. I was top 15 most wanted fugitive for 2 years, from 91 to 93. I got caught in 93, and that hammer came down. I got 25 years in federal prison for a first-time nonviolent offense.
Wow. But you used that time, what I'm going to say, productively, because you earned several degrees there. You started writing and did all kinds of things that relate to the film we're kind of talking about. And how did you get to know about Reverend Kenneth McCoy, who's a.k.a. Pastor of the Streets?
Well, I was, when I got out of prison in 2015, and I'd been writing for Vice and other outlets while I was in as kind of like a freelance, prison true crime journalist. And so I continued that when I got out, and I was based here in St. Louis. And my editor wanted to do like a heroin ring story, because they were hearing a lot about the rings, a lot of indictments and stuff in the city, like around 2015, 2016. Those big gang indictments, like 100 people long. Mm-hmm. And so we were kind of looking at that as a possible story. And I talked to some lawyer friends of mine, because I was seeing if they, had any contact down on the north side of St. Louis, or somebody I could talk to. And they directed me to the Reverend Ken McCoy. And when I went out and I talked to him, he's like, "Oh, we do this walk. Come on out." So I was like, "Okay." So I went out, and I was just like, everybody talks the talk. Everybody says the right things. In the media, politicians. We need to do this. We need to do that. But I mean, this man is like out in the street, like literally doing it, like from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights in the hottest spots in the city. The communities, that make St. Louis, a perennial top 5 murder capital. Mm-hmm. And he walks through these neighborhoods, and he just tries to, he's a violence interrupter, so he tries to diffuse stuff, but he also, he provides care for the homeless, the addicts, the mental ill. He gives out food, he gives out water, he gives out blankets, socks. He tries to get people into rehab, if necessary, into homeless shelters. They carry Narcan in case somebody ODs. And, they try to talk to the shot callers. They try to talk, to the people in the gangs, and they try to make sure, diffuse any violence or kind of play diplomat.
Yeah, and his motto that you have on a promo here says, "Our love for our people and belief in our convictions is stronger than our own fear of death." And you spent a lot of time with him over 2 years. And you probably saw that it just wasn't words; it was actions, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it's funny how we kind of do in society. I mean, really, it's not funny, but we tend to marginalize people. We stigmatize people. We kind of put people under the rug, or put people over here and say, well, they don't want to plug into our nice American life. And when you go out in the streets like this, in the most poverty-stricken parts of the city, and especially, they got that Del Mar divide thing. Once you get past Del Mar, mm-hmm. It's just like crazy. It's a crazy difference. It's like night and day. But those people out there are people. You know, I mean, they might be struggling with mental illness. They might be struggling with drug addiction. You know, they might be struggling with a million different things. I mean, we all struggle. You know, a lot of times though, when you have less resources, your struggle might you might end up on the street. So, you know, they're just people caught up in it, man. But at the end of the day, they're still people. And that's what I admire so much about the Reverend Kim McCoy, because he is daily extending a hand to these people and trying to help them out if they want the help. You know, of course, you can't help anybody if they won't want to be helped.
Right.
But he's actually out there, and you know, if he saved countless lives, but even, you know, one life is invaluable. So, you know, the more lives he can save, you know, by being out there and doing his thing and what he calls his ministry of presence. I just believe, you know, I wanted to make a film about him, man, because it's just like, this is like a perfect example of, you know, like the decency of the human heart, or like what a person can do, you know. But you know, I just want to show that up as kind of a light in the darkness.
Is that kind of why you've gone and written all the books that you've written, and just let people know what life is like, what some would say on the other side of the tracks, or those people who have been cons or involved in lifestyles that aren't the mainstream of what we would see in American life?
Yeah, you know what I noticed when I got in prison. So when I got in prison, it's like, you know, I was in the Fed, so I'm like with all these famous like mafioso, mobsters, gang leaders, stuff like that, because it's a Fed. So that's where they put all like the RICO Act people. So, you know, I'm in the Feds. You know, when I first came in, there's like all these mafiosos. You know, I could get books about them. There's books about these guys. You know, I'd call my mom, hey, order me this off Amazon or whatever. There's all these Colombians. I can get books. I can, you know, this dude's on the block. I can read a whole book about him. But then as gangster rap kind of rose in the mid 90s while I was in, and you know, a lot of these you know, got guys from the inner city, you know, started getting mentioning and placed as part of hip hop lore. I was looking for books on these guys, and there were no books. And I was like locked up. Like some of these dudes were like on the same compound as me. So, you know, I had this idea to be a writer, and really it was just, you know, it was circumstance, but it was something I was interested in. It was something right there. And I've went to plenty of the dudes, and they don't want to talk and they don't want to tell their story, but you know, some of them do. So, you know, I would just approach people, and you know, luckily at that time I had a little bit of time in, so I had a reputation, because in there, you know, it is what it is. You know, you got to have a certain type of reputation, or dudes wanting to talk to you.
Right. So, what is the message you want people to get from the film when they see it?
I just want people to know that there's a lot of issues. You know, gun violence, you know, police brutality, you know, poverty, drug addiction, mental illness, and these issues, these things going on are like right in our own city. You know, this isn't like some foreign country. I mean, it's right here. And I just want people to realize, man, that people are people. You know, and if anybody can help the Reverend Kim McCoy in any way by going out there, or, you know, donating money to his cause or whatever, I mean, it's all good. Any type of help, everybody can provide a different type of help. But I think this goes even deeper than what he's doing. It's just a human thing, man. You know, we're all Americans, so we got to help lift the people that are struggling. We got to help lift them up.
Absolutely.
You know, make a better world for everybody. You know, when people struggle, everybody struggles. Struggle is the common denominator of humanity. So some people just struggle at different levels of resources. So, I mean, if we can all recognize that, so that's kind of what this film is about. And one of my biggest things is, right, like, you know, I grew up in this country. You know, I love America, you know, for all her faults. You know, this is still my country. I'm a patriot. Even though they sent me to prison, all that, I'm still American. I still love my country. You know, I grew up in the suburbs, and, you know, I couldn't imagine at 11 or 12 years old, feeling that I needed a gun for protection. And in the north side, you got some of these 11, 12-year-old kids, and that's how they feel.
Right. Now, Seth, where can people see the show other than at Washington U. Brown Hall on Sunday, July 17th? That's when the showing is going to be, 7:30, Sunday, July 17th at Washington University Brown Hall. Are there other times when people can see the film, Nightlife?
Yeah, well, we're going to do this premiere, and I'm actually talking to aggregators right now and sales agents. So, you know, we're gonna have a public release, you know, in the fall sometime. So, you know, we just got to see how it goes, and see where I can get it placed. You know, I got White Boy with the Stars of Netflix. So, you know, that's the one I wrote and directed about White Boy Rick. the injustices of his case. But this is my directorial debut, so I'm trying to make some noise. I'm trying to get some notice, and still trying to put myself in this film on the map.
I think you'll make a difference too with it. Just one. This is probably the worst question I could ask, but you have so much experience from so many different angles here. Do you see? And I guess there's no one special pill that can help society and some of the challenges that you're attacking here. But my goodness, what can we do? You say we can make contributions to folks that are working in some of these neighborhoods, but is there anything you really see that we're missing here that we can really do to help?
Yeah, this is the thing. I don't know. I don't know if this is taken up on the government level, the legislation level, but right, like let's talk about the Del Mar Divide. I mean, why you got the same houses on the other side of Del Mar? I mean, some are, destroyed or whatever, but some are still some people take care of their houses over there. Some are still in good shape. So why is the same house on one side of Del Mar
right
worth like $750 million, and that same house, a house literally built the same brick, the same style, it's all in the same area, is worth like not even 200,000 or 150. It's just, these are what we have. I mean, if we could solve this, it's about resources, man. That's what it's about. Look, I was in prison for 21 years. It's a scarcity of resources. So people fight and kill each other over resources in there because you live in a fishbowl. So it's the same thing out here, man. It's resources. So if we can figure that out, like, look, I'm not pretending to have all the answers. I'm just presenting this man and what he's doing in the art form that I've chosen, and that's what I do. But yeah, man, that's the first question. It's 2 blocks apart, not even 2 blocks apart. Why are the police heavy in the Central West End, but you cross Del Mar, you don't see any cops?
Right. Right. So good, valid questions, and you're absolutely right. And
and this is on levels higher than us. This is on government levels. This is on law enforcement levels. And like I say, I'm not criticizing anybody, man. I mean, there's a lot of work to do. It's a lot of hard work, but we need to get the right agencies and the right government people, and they need to address the right thing. You can't just leave these people like this. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I couldn't agree with you more. It is absolutely crazy. We need folks that can really help, that have courage. It's a challenge. I don't think I don't want to call it a problem, because I think it's a challenge that we turn this around. That Del Mar Divide is just the worst, like you say. And the value of those homes is so low that in order to rehab them and make them, what they should be, it would cost you as much as the value of that house. And the result is that people won't do it. So there needs to be some people with courage, as you say, that'll just help make this right. Put us, and I guess every step in what you're doing, I applaud what you're doing, because I think every step we take towards that direction is so vitally important.
Yeah, and like I said, there's no perfect answer, and a lot of this stuff has been going on. I think really the inner cities have been, cratering since the 70s. So I mean, this is going, you're talking 50 years. So it's just like, whatever. I mean, we're supposed to be a more awoken, sensitive America today. So this is just one more thing that's out there, and it's nothing new. I mean, people have talked about this before. I'm just talking about it as it pertains to the Reverend Kim McCoy and the north side of St. Louis in my film.
So Valuing People is something that you need to see in nightlife. It's a film by Seth Ferranti, his directorial debut. And Seth, we're greatly appreciative here on St. Louis in Tune for you taking time to talk to us about the film.
No, appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man. I treasure the opportunity, for real.
We're glad you listened to this episode of St. Louis in Tune. Please share this podcast or tell a friend. St. Louis in Tune is produced in cooperation with KWRH 92.9 FM and Motif Media Group. For St. Louis in Tune, I'm Arnold Stricker.